Welcome back to Beyond the Headline, everyone. It's an exciting day to join us on the show because I'm here with Daina Trout, the co-founder and CEO of Health-Ade Kombucha. Daina, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'd love to start out with you giving us a little glimpse into Health-Ade and why kombucha is so healthy.
Sure. So kombucha has been around for 2,000 plus years. It's a fermented tea, and it's rich in probiotics and healthy acids. It's been used in countless cultures to promote health, and Health-Ade is here to make the best tasting and highest quality kombucha. So we have been learning about the process. We try to make it the same way that they've been making it for 2,000 years, the way you would make it at home, and we're bringing that to the commercial shelf. So kombucha generally is becoming very popular right now, and I think for several reasons. One is that it makes you feel good, and two is that I think it hits a lot of points that people are looking for. It's natural, number one. It's made with real ingredients, and it's naturally low in sugar and calories. So there aren't too many things out in the marketplace that have all those things, and so it's growing. It's a very fastly growing market.
And why is it so important that it's brewed thoughtfully?
So just like any other food, what you put in is what you get out. And it's no different if you make a meal at home. If you put in crappy ingredients, you're not going to get the best meal. If you put in really awesome ingredients, you're generally going to get a delicious, tasty meal. The same thing with brewing kombucha. It's a process that takes 21 days, and there's all kinds of different inputs that are needed, not just ingredients, but also what temperature you're brewing your kombucha at, how you handle it, how big are your vessel sizes, etc. And in the same way, the better you care for your process and your recipe, the better your output. I actually have our jar here. My employee brought me one. So this is our 2.5 gallon jar. And this is still, no matter how big we get, what we plan to brew in. We're the only commercial kombucha that brews in glass. And I think it's very important to brew in glass, number one, because it's the most inert vessel. So there's not going to be any exchange of the vessel with the actual beverage that you're drinking. But also, obviously, the size is important, too. You can have really good control over your quality if you're only doing it in 2.5 gallons. Of course, that makes our process a little bit more expensive, and I'll say this nicely, a little more difficult, but we think our customer cares about that. So I guess to answer your question, it's what you put in is what you get out.
And I think we've certainly seen the customer response with Health-Ade. You guys started out and you were brewing in your home. It was your husband, yes, you, and your best friend. Now you're in thousands of stores around the country, but that is still really important to you.
It is very important to us, yes. Yeah. There are certain things that you have to scale, right? So we've certainly upgraded from, capping our bottles by hand to purchasing a piece of machine that can cap the bottles for us. But in terms of what goes into the kombucha and the ingredients and the actual food part, I literally stop at nothing. So, for example, our cold press line, we cold press raw juice. We buy organic produce directly from the farms. We juice it ourselves the day that we brew the kombucha, and then we mix it all right there, and that's what gets bottled, and that's what you drink. There's no pasteurization. There's no processing. It's not like this juice was purchased 12 months ago and has been sitting, in a freezer somewhere. So, we care a lot about that.
And I think as you continue to grow, it will only cling on more with consumers because we're craving that. We're craving that we can find a brand that not only represents our values, but represents the way that we want to take care of ourselves and take care of our families. I know you guys are in thousands of stores now, but I'd love to rewind to the early days. What was it like shifting from the farmer's market to a store? How did you first pitch Health-Ade?
Okay, so that was the evolution from our closet to where the 50,000 square foot brewery we're building right now has been insane. And that's been over a 4-year time period. I can't even probably do it justice, but basically we just followed our guts. We knew in the beginning that we wanted to make a mark. I cared a lot about real food. I'm a nutritionist. That's my background. But we all wanted to make a mark. We felt there was something more out there for us. And we only had $300 each to put toward this business. and so many things became not doable for us because, like, for example, we came up with this great idea for an app, let's say, and, but we didn't have $100,000 to put into creating that app. Okay, great. So, ironically, we thought that a beverage would be like the cheap way to go, but it really ended up not being, and it's been really difficult and awesome. But yeah, in the farmers markets, we just showed up. We made it in our closets. We, had conversations with people. Hey, have you tried kombucha before? Are you interested in probiotic tea? Try some. When our customers would give us direct feedback, we'd take that, change our recipe a little bit, or, oh, we really wish you would do a pomegranate flavor. Okay, we'll buy some pomegranates and make that flavor. So that first year was very much just like putting our hearts out there, putting aside our fears, understanding that we didn't know what we were doing. By the way, we still don't. I just know that we have a reason for existing. And as long as we stay true to that reason, I know that we'll always grow. Obviously things have grown and evolved. As problems come up, we have to solve them and do them differently. And I think the point of all of this is that it's not that we've gone around and hired all these experienced people that have done this before and now we're just following in the footsteps. I think very much for Health-Ade it has been that we're just out there doing what we think is right and following. Our tagline is follow your gut, and it's very much a tagline for the whole company. We just follow what we think is the right thing to do next, and we do it with all our hearts, and it's a lot of work, but it always seems to benefit us, and we seem to move forward and push, and we're doing it in a very unconventional way. Like, nobody would think this was smart, right? I don't think there's any manufacturing company out there that's using 2.5 gallons as their, brewing size, but it's working for us. And it's funny because now everybody's on our side. Since I committed to that, now all the investors that have helped us grow are finally saying, okay, I see what you were saying in the beginning. This really does matter. So imagine if we can extrapolate that to, let's say we do become a national brand that's in everybody's home in America. Like, how cool is that we were able to do it while sticking to our convictions about food? That was a long-winded answer to your question.
It was a perfect answer because follow your gut. I actually didn't know that I thought it was follow your gut, like your gut bacteria, nourish it that way. I didn't know that you also apply it to your team. I know you're big on having a small team of A players so you can be nimble. Why is that important to you?
Because basically running a business is like, okay, this is how I like to say it. It's like falling off a horse 1,000 times a day and then having to get back on that horse 1,000 times a day, every single time. So at the end of the day, you go to bed, you're tired, you're bruised, you've fallen off a horse 1,000 times. It's nothing but problem solving. And the more that you can evolve and just do better every time, do it slightly better every time, the better we have found we do. So having a team of people that are just, doesn't even matter how much experience they have. In fact, that's usually the last thing we look for here. The first thing we look for is, are you willing to put your heart into this? Do you care about food? Are you willing to push boundaries, follow your gut, put aside fear? Those are the people that do well here, because basically when you're approached by a problem, you say, instead of saying, oh my gosh, this is gonna take me back, or what am I gonna do about this? Instead we say, let's look at this as an opportunity. How do we approach this so that we make this an opportunity? So having people that think that way, that can act fast and move fast, has been like our best ingredient, I would say. When we're growing fast, we have over 40 employees now. So it's not a small company, but everybody on this team is incredible. I don't know how I could do it without them.
How do you balance that sense of empowerment and opportunity learning so they feel like, hey, I can make an on-the-ground decision because love this following my gut, because I'm following my gut, but at the same time, no, you're right over there if I have a question and you'll be there to help me.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to create an environment that accepts mistakes. If people feel they can fall, I'm telling you, they will learn to run faster. And that has been my experience. So I have to, for the people that do come in experienced, it takes them a little bit of time to get used to that environment. But I think it's very appealing to people. They want a space where they can play. And I always, I didn't say this the first time, and I don't know who did. So I want to make sure that I'm clear. But I do say all the time, you either win or learn. There is no loss. And so if we win, great. If we learn, even better. As long as we're not making the same mistakes over and over, I'm happy.
It's funny because I have on my notes, the more is a great insight from Chris Holmberg in the first round review. He says, you win more, the more you let go of winning.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And the more you let yourself fall. And the people you talk to that are super successful in whatever, doesn't matter if it's sports or business or whatever, I guarantee you they have made some really big mistakes. It didn't just happen. In fact, I think the more you grow, the more you push, the further you're going to fall and the bigger the falls will feel. So you have to make sure you create an environment where people feel supported, that you take the time to learn, and you move forward, and you do it better next time. Another quote I have literally right here is, I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. And that's Maya Angelou. And same thing here. It's just, yeah, we're just entrepreneurs. We're just people here that want to make a difference. We want to put out a great kombucha. Think our customer cares about all the things we care about. So we do the best we can at that every day. It's really that simple.
I'd love to bring that alive in an example. So you guys just redesigned your bottle. Mm-hmm. What was that experience like? Because as a consumer, I'm walking in the store and I'm like, wow, that looks great. And it wasn't like you just sat down and were like, oh, here's the first idea and it worked perfectly. What's that experience like?
And you know what, though? It kind of is like that. And this is, okay, so let me tell you about that experience. Basically,
is it? Because I'm not having that experience.
But it's not perfect. I guess that's the only thing I would change about your sentence. It's just that you put something out there. Already I've received feedback about this bottle that it's not great in this way or not great in that way, and we'll make it better next time. But the point is we put something new out there. We put the people who cared about how a bottle looks on a team. We said, what do we want to see? Oh, we think ankles would look cool. Okay, let's go forward with that. We want to put follow your gut on there because we care about follow your gut. We want to get that tagline out to people because it means so much more than just this is a probiotic beverage. To us, we think that if we can have people connect to what follow your gut means in their personal lives, that this universe will start to be an even better one. So we were passionate about putting that on there. But really, the whole impetus for a new bottle was simply that we're starting to make so much kombucha that it made sense for us to have a custom bottle instead of buying stock bottles. So when we had the opportunity to design one, we said, well, we got to make it ours, right? We got to make it look like Health-Ade. So it was as simple as putting a team of 3 together that were interested in this. We came up with the angles and the follow your gut and the anchor, and we had 1 week to put it together, and that's what we came up with. And again, it's not perfect. And I think that's the point, is that I could have gotten stuck in, researching what is going to be the best way to communicate this or that. And I've already received feedback, as I mentioned, on how to change it next time. And you'll see evolutions as we go. But I'm glad to hear you liked it.
So then so the 3 people who worked on this project, was that something at a meeting that you guys mentioned, hey, we're going to be redesigning the bottle, anyone can volunteer?
Yeah.
Very cool. So that you don't have to be on a product team or you don't have to be on a design team.
At this point, everybody has a role with roles and responsibilities. But when we have special projects that come up like that, we'll usually just, throw it out to the team. And if somebody shows interest, they're welcome to join the conversation. But then, of course, once we came up with the idea of the design, the person who does design at our company did the actual work on Photoshop, But in general, if you have interest in a project, you're welcome to to join. Yeah.
I love that. And I'd love to also take a couple of minutes and talk about follow your gut, because I thought,
Gladly.
wow, this is brilliant. I can't believe someone who enjoys probiotics. I thought that was very cool. And now, as you talk about it as a whole life perspective, it makes it so much bigger.
And that's been a really cool evolution for me also, by the way, because in the beginning, when we picked Follow Your Gut, Justin, Vanessa, and I, so Justin's my husband, Vanessa's my best friend, and the three of us started this together in our closet 4 years ago. We picked Follow Your Gut because, as you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, the probiotic benefit, we felt that it was a tagline people could say quickly. I mean, it kind of had a very small meaning to us at that time. But having built this business with no experience, from scratch, with almost no money, the amount of labor, energy it took, I'm telling you this, growing this business has challenged every aspect of my intellect and made me grow in ways I feel like I've had 15 lifetimes. I'm incredibly grateful for the experience. And I've learned that the thing that's been constant in this time, in this crazy growth period, has been that when we win, it's when we follow our gut. It's when we really look in and we say, what do I think is the right thing to do? Not what convention or history has taught me, but what I think is the best thing based on all the experiences and inputs that I have. And so we realize that what got us here is committing to that tagline, follow your gut. And so it's become so much bigger. And now it's not our tagline anymore. It's really what we feel our mission is. Our mission here is to inspire others to trust in themselves. Instead of looking outward for an answer on what's going to make them healthy or them happy, we believe the answer is within. And so that's what follow your gut really means. If we can get the people to see Health-Ade and it makes them just drop one suitcase of fear and take one courageous step in life, we believe that that's a really cool place to be. So follow your gut means a lot. It means a lot to us. And the concept is everything you have to succeed is already within you. And that's what we're trying to cultivate.
This is so great. It's so much more than I had expected. So I'm so glad that you got to talk about that. And I'm eager to shift it to something that you had brought up when we first started chatting, which was about your investors and making it clear that, this is how we do things. And now they're on board, but in the beginning, it's a little bit more difficult. You guys recently raised new funding, and one of your investors said that he believes you guys can be selling 5 times the amount of product if you had the capability to brew it. How do you approach, whether it's now or in the future, interactions like that? Like, hey, you can be this massive global brand, and say, nope, we're sticking with the 2.5 gallons to get there.
Well, the beautiful thing is that first of all, you have to make sure you're partnering with the right people who believe in what you're doing. And that's really important. And so investors are a huge part of that conversation because, as I mentioned before, we were making this completely by hand in the beginning. I'm talking, I capped every single bottle. I wrote the flavor by hand. Obviously, that's not possible as you expand into other regions and go nationally. I want to be a national brand. I want Health-Ade to be available to all people in the United States. But I don't want to compromise on quality. So as long as I meet an investor who believes there is a solution there, we can be everywhere and still be the best tasting, highest quality kombucha you make from home, I'm totally willing to partner. And so the investor you're speaking of, Rohan from Kavu, actually very much believes in what we do. His capability building he's talking about is size of brewery. So they helped us select and identify this larger brewery where we're building it out. But we're still building it in this old school way. And he's totally into that. Nobody's talking about us changing the size of our bottles. Nobody's talking about changing we make our bottles in amber. That's always been something we do. But in the beginning, that was a big fight because nobody can see the beautiful color of kombucha. I don't know if you've actually opened up one of our beet kombuchas, but I highly suggest it. Pour it into a clear glass. It's fuchsia. It's beautiful because the cold pressed beet is amazing. And unfortunately, people don't get to see that on the shelf because it's in a brown bottle. But the brown bottle protects the probiotics. So again, if I'm here to be the highest quality kombucha, I'm not going to put it in a clear bottle because I care more about the content for you than the color. And so that'll just be a nice little surprise when you drink it. But my point is now people know us as the brown bottle kombucha. And in fact, other kombuchas are even now starting to move to a brown bottle. So it's funny, by sticking to our guns in the beginning, it's created a bit of a drive for the market to focus more on the functionality than just the look. And of course, now the investors are behind that. So a part of it is knowing where to take lessons from them, where to stick to your guns. And as long as you both are on the same page about wanting to grow this thing, with the right goals, I think where there's a will, there's a way.
I'm loving all this going back to follow your gut. I feel like that's going to be my mantra for the week. And I'd love to close on that note. You mentioned that starting and running a business is like falling off of a horse many, many, many times a day. As you reflect on these last 4 years, and you've run a business before, is there a single lesson or piece of advice that you've received that really guides you?
Am I allowed to say follow your gut?
You're allowed to say follow your gut.
That's it. That has been the lesson repeatedly, daily. If I look back every year, no matter what stage, that has been the lesson. And the parts that I wish I could do over, they were the parts where I wasn't sure enough in myself, and I didn't have the courage enough in myself to move forward. And it is actually really that simple.
So, I mean, there's just so many things that people can take from this. You can follow your gut with your body. You can follow your gut in your life. But I think it all wraps up so well in that it's a little thing we can take with us every day. I'm so excited that we got to chat and learn a little bit more about your story and how you guys are really sticking to your guns with your process. What's the best way for everyone listening in to try Health-Ade and to just stay up to date with the company and updates and everything?
Yeah, so we are a growing business. So our website should be a good space in the future. Social media, Health-Ade. You can follow us at Health-Ade. On Instagram,
Instagram is great.
Yeah, Instagram is great. We generally let people know what we're up to there. But to try Health-Ade, we're available right now in 42 states across America, so almost everywhere. And we hope by the end of the year we'll be in every state. Whole Foods is probably where we're most distributed. We're in 7 of the 11 regions, so about half of the Whole Foods across the country. And just expanding. I think if you tell your store that you want to see Health-Ade, then that's probably the best bet to get it to your local store. Hopefully in San Diego, you have quite a few options.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.